If you have ever walked alone at night and felt like someone was watching you. If you have ever seen a stranger whose smile felt wrong. If you have ever had the sense that something human-shaped was following you, but not quite human in the ways that matter, then you already understand why so many people swear they have seen him. The smiling man. A figure who appears on empty streets, in parking lots, outside apartment buildings, always at night, always alone, always smiling. Some say he is just a man. Some say he is something else wearing the shape of one. Tonight, I am going to tell you a chain of connected encounters, real stories. People have shared online, retold here as one continuous sequence. 3 people. 3 nights. 1 presence. And by the end, you might start to wonder whether he has been closer to you than you ever realized. Evan had always been comfortable walking home after his late shift. The streets were quiet, predictable, and familiar. He had done it hundreds of times without a second thought. But that night, something felt different. The air was too still. The streetlights buzzed louder than usual. Even the shadows seemed to lean in, as if listening. He was halfway down the block when he noticed the man, tall, thin, standing under a streetlight far ahead. His suit looked a size too small, stretched tight across his shoulders. His arms hung loosely at his sides, fingers curled slightly inward, and he was smiling. Not a normal smile. Not a friendly one. A stretched, frozen grin that looked carved into his face. Evan slowed down. The man did not move. He tried to convince himself it was nothing, just a weird guy, maybe drunk, maybe waiting for someone. But something about the man's posture made his skin crawl. He kept walking. When he looked again, the man was closer. Evan blinked hard. He had not seen him move. One moment he was under the streetlight. The next he was halfway down the block. Still smiling, Evan's heart thudded in his chest. He picked up his pace, trying not to look back. But he could feel it, the weight of that smile pressing against the back of his neck. He turned the corner at the laundromat, nearly tripping over the curb. For a moment he felt relief. The street behind him was empty. Then he heard it. A soft tapping. Light. Irregular. Like someone tiptoeing but trying not to laugh while doing it. Evan did not look back. He could not. The tapping grew faster. Closer. He broke into a run. His apartment building came into view. He sprinted up the steps, fumbled with his keys, and slammed the door behind him. Silence. He pressed his back to the door, chest heaving. Then, through the peephole, he saw him. The man stood perfectly still on the sidewalk, head tilted, smile unchanged, as if he had been waiting for Evan to look. And then, without taking a step, the man leaned forward, bending at the waist in a slow, unnatural arc, like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. The smile never moved. Evan stumbled back from the door. When he looked again, the sidewalk was empty. He did not sleep that night, and he never took that route home again. 2 nights later, Jenna was closing up the grocery store where she worked. The parking lot was always empty by the time she clocked out, just flickering lights and the occasional stray shopping cart. She hated walking to her car alone, but she told herself it was fine. Nothing ever happened in their quiet town. She stepped outside, pulling her jacket tight against the cold. That is when she saw him, a man standing near the far end of the lot, facing away from her, body stiff, arms straight at his sides. His suit looked old, like it had been pulled from a thrift store bin. His hair was neatly combed, but too neatly plastered into place, unmoving even in the breeze. Jenna unlocked her car and kept her eyes down. Then she heard a soft giggle. She froze. It was not a happy laugh. It was breathy, shaky, like someone trying to hold in excitement they should not be feeling. She looked up. The man was facing her now and smiling. His eyes were wide, unblinking. His grin stretched so far it looked painful. He did not move, did not blink, just stared at her with that awful, hungry smile. Jenna's keys slipped from her hand. The man took a step forward, not a normal step. His foot slid across the pavement like he was gliding, his body jerking slightly as if catching up with itself. Jenna scrambled for her keys, hands shaking. The man took another sliding step, then another, each one faster than the last. She grabbed her keys, dove into her car, and slammed the door shut. The man stopped. He stood just outside the reach of the headlights, smile glowing faintly in the dark. Jenna locked the doors and started the engine. The man tilted his head slowly, like he was studying her. Then he raised one hand stiff, deliberate, and waved. Not a friendly wave, a slow, taunting one. Jenna floored the gas and sped out of the lot. In her rearview mirror, she saw him standing perfectly still, hand still raised, smile still stretched across his face. She did not know it yet, but she was not the only one who had seen him that week. 3 blocks from where Evan lived, and just a short drive from Jenna's grocery store, a college student named Marcus was up late studying. His apartment overlooked the street, giving him a clear view of the sidewalk below. Around 3 a.m., he noticed movement outside. A man was standing on the sidewalk, directly across from his building. Tall, thin, wearing a suit. Marcus would not have thought much of it. Drunk people wandered the neighborhood all the time, but something about the man's posture made him pause. He was standing too still, too straight, like he was posing for a photograph no one was taking. Marcus leaned closer to the window. The man's head tilted upward, and he smiled. Marcus stumbled back from the glass. His heart pounded. He told himself it was a coincidence the man could not possibly see him from that far away. But the smile, it was the same smile Evan had seen, the same smile Jenna had seen. Wide. Frozen. Wrong. Marcus peeked out again. The man was closer. Not walking, not running. Just closer. Marcus' breath caught in his throat. He backed away from the window, but curiosity pulled him forward again. The man was now standing directly under Marcus' window, looking up, smiling, unmoving. Marcus grabbed his phone, ready to call someone, anyone. But when he looked again, the man was gone. He scanned the street, heart racing. Then he heard it, a soft tapping, not from outside, from inside the building, from the hallway. Marcus crept toward his front door, every instinct screaming at him to stop. He pressed his ear to the wood, tap, tap, tap. Slow, deliberate, coming closer. He backed away, eyes wide. The tapping stopped. Silence. Then from the other side of the door, a soft, breathy giggle. Marcus did not sleep that night, and he moved out 2 weeks later. Three people. 3 encounters. 3 nights in a row. None of them knew each other. None of them compared stories. None of them realized they were describing the same man. But the town did. Whispers spread. Posts appeared online. People started avoiding certain streets at night. And every so often, someone would swear they saw him again, standing under a streetlight, or in a parking lot, or outside an apartment window, always smiling, always watching, always waiting for someone to notice him. Some say he is just a man, a disturbed individual who enjoys scaring people. Others say he is something else, something that wears the shape of a man, but does not understand how humans are supposed to move, or blink, or smile. And some believe He is not one person at all, but many. A pattern, a presence, a phenomenon that appears wherever the streets are empty and the night is quiet. Whatever he is, one thing is certain. If you ever see a man standing alone at night, if he is smiling too wide, if he moves without moving, if he watches you without blinking, do not look away. Do not run. Do not acknowledge him. Because once he knows you have seen him, he does not forget. And the strange thing is those 3 encounters were not isolated. They were not random. They were not even the first. Because once you start digging into stories like these, once you start looking for patterns, you realize something unsettling. People have been seeing the smiling man long before Evan, Jenna, or Marcus ever crossed his path. Their stories were not the beginning. They were just the moment people finally started paying attention. For years, scattered across forums, late-night message boards, and forgotten corners of the internet, there were posts describing the same figure, the same smile, the same unnatural movements, the same sense of being watched by something that understood the shape of a human body, but not the rules that govern it. And when you line those stories up, when you compare the details, when you strip away the fear and the exaggeration, a picture starts to form, not of a monster. A pattern that repeats itself across states, across decades, across people who never met and never compared notes. So let us talk about where this all began. The earliest widely shared account of the smiling man appeared online in 2012. A man described walking home late at night when he saw a stranger behaving strangely, dancing, gliding, smiling too wide, following him without speaking. The story went viral almost instantly, not because it was flashy or dramatic, but because it felt real. It felt like something that could happen to anyone. But here's the part most people do not know. After that story spread, dozens of commentators came forward saying they had seen someone similar years before. Some described encounters from the early 2000s, others from the 90s. A few even claimed they had seen a figure like that when they were children. Different cities, different decades, same smile. And that is where the legend stops being just a story and starts becoming a cultural echo. Because urban legends do not appear out of nowhere. They grow from seeds, small, unsettling experiences that people do not know how to explain. And when someone finally puts those experiences into words, everyone else who has been carrying the same fear suddenly realizes they are not alone. So what exactly is the smiling man? There are a few theories. The first, the simplest, is that he is just a person. A disturbed individual who enjoys frightening strangers. Someone who moves strangely, smiles too wide, and follows people because he likes the reaction. It is not impossible. There are people who behave unpredictably, especially late at night, especially in cities where mental health resources are stretched thin. But that explanation does not account for the consistency. Different witnesses in different states years apart, all describing the same posture, the same smile, the same gliding steps, the same breathy giggle, the same way he appears closer without seeming to move. It is possible, of course, that people are influenced by the stories they have heard. Once a legend becomes popular, people start interpreting their own experiences through that lens. A strange man becomes the strange man. A weird smile becomes the smile. But that theory has a flaw too. Some of the most detailed accounts, the ones that match the modern legend almost perfectly, were posted before the viral story existed. Before the name Smiling Man meant anything. Before people had a template to follow. Which brings us to the second theory, that the smiling man is not a person at all, but a psychological phenomenon. Humans are wired to detect threats in the dark. Our brains are constantly scanning for danger, especially when we are alone. When we see a figure at night, even a harmless one, our minds fill in the blanks. A normal smile becomes sinister. A normal walk becomes unnatural. A normal stranger becomes a predator. This is called hypervigilance, and it is incredibly common. But again, the consistency is hard to ignore. People do not just imagine the same details by accident. They do not hallucinate the same posture, the same movements, the same smile, unless something is triggering it. Which leads to the third theory, the one people do not like to talk about. The idea that the smiling man is not a single person, or a hallucination, or a coincidence, but a pattern of behavior that appears across cultures. A type of figure. A type of presence, something that shows up in folklore around the world, long before the internet existed. In Japan, there are stories of the Hashaku-sama, a tall figure who mimics human behavior but gets it slightly wrong. In parts of Europe, there are tales of the grinning man, a silent figure who appears before strange events. In South America, there are legends of El Sonriente, a man who smiles too wide and follows travelers at night. Different names, different cultures, same idea. A human shape that is not quite human, a smile that is not quite right, a presence that appears when the streets are empty and the night is quiet. And maybe that is why the smiling man resonates so deeply, because he taps into something ancient, a fear older than cities, older than streetlights, older than the internet. The fear of being watched by something that understands us just enough to imitate us, but not enough to be one of us. Of course, there are more grounded explanations too. Some psychologists believe the smiling man legend is rooted in the uncanny valley, the discomfort we feel when something looks human, but behaves in a way that is just slightly off. Robots, mannequins, masks, they all trigger the same instinctive reaction. A man who smiles too wide, moves too smoothly, or stands too still hits that same nerve. Others point to sleep deprivation, which can cause people to misinterpret shadows, movements, and facial expressions. Many smiling man encounters happen late at night, when people are tired, stressed, or walking alone. And then there is the social contagion theory, the idea that once a story becomes popular, people start seeing it everywhere. Not because it is real, but because they are primed to notice anything that resembles it. But even that does not explain everything. It does not explain the reports from before the legend existed. It does not explain the matching details across unrelated witnesses. It does not explain the way people describe the same smile, a smile that feels wrong, in a way they cannot articulate. And it definitely does not explain why the smiling man seems to appear most often in quiet neighborhoods, empty streets, and places where people feel safe until they do not. Maybe he is a person. Maybe he is a pattern. Maybe he is a story that grew legs and started walking on its own. Or maybe, and this is the part people do not like to consider, maybe he is something that has always been here. Something that slips into our world when the conditions are right. Something that watches us from the edges of the night, waiting for someone to notice him. Because that is the one detail that shows up in almost every account. The smiling man never approaches first. He never speaks. He never touches anyone. He waits. He waits for you to see him. He waits for you to acknowledge him. He waits for you to react. And once you do, once you lock eyes with that too wide smile, once you recognize that something is wrong, that is when he starts to move. Some people think he feeds on fear. Some think he is testing us. Some think he is searching for something or someone who reacts the right way. But the truth is, no one knows. All we have are stories. Stories that stretch across years, across states, across people who never met. Stories that describe the same figure, the same smile, the same impossible movements. Stories that make you wonder whether the smiling man is a legend or a warning. Because if there is one thing every witness agrees on, it is this. He appears when you are alone. He appears when the streets are empty. He appears when you least expect it. And once you have seen him, you never forget that smile. If stories like this keep you looking over your shoulder at night, if you felt that little chill when the smile appeared in your mind, then you are exactly the kind of person I make. So before you go, turning off the lights, do me one favor. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the smiling man, or if it made you rethink that quiet street outside your window, hit the like button. It helps more than you know. And if you want more stories like this, more urban legends, more real encounters, more things that lurk just outside the edge of the streetlights, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Because I have got plenty more to tell you, and trust me, some of them are even stranger than this one. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. And if you see someone smiling at you from across the street, do not smile back.